I guess I'm live. Check my audio. Audio's good. So, let me tell you all what happened. Got up on New Year's Day at 6:49, and I was feeling okay. And I never really have pain, too much pain. So I went to do my little walk. I walk around the pool 3 times and try to do that 5 times a day, 4 or 5 times a day, whatever I can manage to do. And I couldn't catch my breath. So a lot of times what happens is I can't catch my breath, and if I stick with it long enough, I can catch it. So, but this time I couldn't catch it. And as I was walking around the pool, I could see the top of the trees. I wasn't looking up, but I could kind of see them. I guess you'd call it, peripheral vision. And what looked like, hundreds of little black birds. So I said, what the heck? So I looked up, and when I looked up, they all disappeared. So I thought, uh-oh, I'm not getting enough oxygen. So I finished, that was my 3rd lap, so I went in and I sat down, and Nina was getting ready for work. And I still couldn't catch my breath, kind of like what's happening right now, except for the only difference is right now they gave me treatment and I'm waiting for the treatment to kick in, and once it kicks in I can catch my breath. So she kept asking me if I was alright, and I kept saying, I'd be alright, it's just gonna take a minute. And they give you this little tool that you suck the air out, and it kind of measures it, and after you do it a few times you can get oxygen. You somehow your lungs are working stronger and they're able to catch that oxygen. But this time it didn't work, and she was getting ready for work, and I said, no, this is different. So I told her, well, you better take me in. So we don't live that far from the hospital. We only live like 15 minutes. It's just right down the road. We got so lucky when we bought this house, but I said that before. And the name of the hospital is the Northside, I guess it's the Northside General is the name of the hospital. So we loaded me up in her car, and off we went. And because I'm a heart patient, we bypass everything. We don't sit in a waiting room or wait or anything. So I went into the nurse's station, and they asked me what was wrong, and I told them what was wrong, and they looked my records up real quick, and that fast they had me in the back room and hooked up to oxygen and made me comfortable. And they take such good care of me here. I don't know what to say about these people from the janitors on up. They do such a great job. So they got me hooked up to oxygen, which, oxygen, it helps. And, sometimes when I get that bad, I just put it in my mouth. It's them little ones that go up into our nose. But when it gets real bad, I kind of put it in my mouth. So, I'm waiting for the doctor to come in, and they're hooking me up to an IV right away. They put you in the gown. You got to put your little gown that opens up in the back, and they hook you up to the heart. They got little portable heart monitors now that they hook you up, and then the command center can monitor you all the time. So I'm waiting for the doctor, and the doctor comes in, and I explain that I can't catch my breath. Well, usually what I say, I can't breathe, and they say, well, you're breathing, and I said, well, I can't catch my breath. So after you explain everything to them, and they're done joking, they try to lighten it up for you, and try to get you to relax, because not being able to breathe is kind of spooky, and I don't think anybody can ever get used to not being able to breathe, even if, it's a little bit. Even if you just can't breathe a little bit, you can't catch your breath. So keep in mind, I'm sitting in my hospital room. So if a nurse or a doctor or somebody comes in, I'll mute this and they'll talk to me. I don't think not letting people know that you're recording them, and this is serious business. So as soon as they come in, I'll mute it, and then I'll unmute it. I'll turn the music up, and we'll do it that way. But I think for the most part, they're done with me for a while. So back to the emergency room. I was down in the emergency room, and the doctor, kind of checks me out. They put that little thing on your finger, and they say, well, your oxygen's good, and so that just kind of shows the oxygen in your blood. It really doesn't show why when you take a deep breath you can't breathe. It doesn't feel right. So she says, okay, let me get some x-rays on you, and we'll see what's going on with you. And they asked me my history, my quick history, and of course I was in there not counting the operation. I was in there 2 times before, and each time I went in, there was definitely something wrong with my lungs. The first time I went in, my left lung had 800 cc's of fluid sitting underneath it, and that's why I couldn't breathe. And every time I would eat, my stomach would, take up more space inside that cavity, and I couldn't breathe. So they drained that, which was hell. The first time they did it, they didn't give me any pain pills or anything. And they basically did it like the old cowboy days. And I'll tell you what, that hurt. That hurt a lot. Brought out the cussing in me, I can tell you that. So they took out the 800 cc's, and then I went home. And I got home. Okay, now I think on that one I left the hospital. Let's see, what do they call it? AMA, without medical advice, against medical advice. I left, and I went home, and I was okay for a few days. And then it came again. I couldn't breathe. But, when I left, I told them, I said, well, because they told me I was leaving against medical advice. I said, well, then does that mean, if I get sick or whatever, that, I shouldn't come here, or, what's the deal? They said, oh, no. If you have a problem, you come right back to the emergency room and, we'll treat you. I said, okay. So I left, went home, and like I said, for a couple of days, I felt pretty good. And then it started up again. And it's just shortness of breath. It's kind of like breathing through a wet towel. That's what it kind of feels like. You just can't get that good breath. That good breath of air that kind of kicks your brain on, or whatever it does. You just can't catch it. So Nina brought me into the hospital again after, I was trying to fight it. I was trying to think, well, it would go away like a headache or something, and I'd be able to deal with it, but didn't quite work out that way. So I get here to the north side, and again, you just bypass everything, and they take you straight into the room, hook you all up, get an IV going, put the gown on, and the doctor comes in, and they treat you so good. It's just, I don't know what to say. I don't know if it's the Florida air. I don't know if they're trained like this. I have no clue. But the janitors are the same way. The janitors will treat you as good as anybody. And the people who bring you your food will treat you good. And the people who bring you your extra medicine or take your blood, they all treat you just so good, And when you have surgery on your heart, one of the downsides of it, if you want to call it that, is that you're emotional. So when anybody does anything good for you, or you think about anything good, you get real emotional. You get like John Boehner. You know how John Boehner gets on TV and gets all emotional and starts crying and stuff. I don't get quite that bad because, you know, I've got a lot of fight in me that I fight it. And so they got me back in there again. I'm in back into the ER, and it's the same thing. I've got fluid on the bottom of my lung. So this time they take a liter out, which is 1,000 cc's of this fluid. Send me home, and you know that's what I thought I was dealing with. So the third time, which was now January 1st, they bring me in, and she says, okay, well, let's run some tests. Let's, you know, get some of your blood. Let's get you some x-rays and stuff like that. And so they do all that. And she comes back in and she says, oh, yeah, there's a problem. And I said, well, good. At least I'm glad to hear it's not a false alarm, that, you know, I'm just thinking I can't breathe because all your machines say I can, and because I can talk and all this stuff that, I'm breathing. She says, oh, no, there's something wrong. She says, we're going to send you for, they've got just the plain chest x-rays. Then they got the ones where they put the dye in and you go into I guess it's the CAT scan is what it is. So they took the chest x-rays and then they sent me down to the CAT scan. And I came back up and she says, yep, we're going to have to admit you. You've got a blood clot on your right lung. And I said, well, okay. So she says, so they start talking and everything, and then this is the doctor. Then the nurse comes in and she says, that's the biggest blood clot I've ever seen. She said, that thing is huge. Which, that's why I can't breathe. I've got this huge blood clot, and from what it sounds like, it's taken up about the bottom third of my lung. That's what it sounds like. So they explained to me what are, all the options. They've got blood thinners, and then if that don't work, then they go in there with like some kind of vacuum cleaner, and they just vacuum it out. So they send me up to my room. I get a room. Nina comes up, and she hangs around for a while, but she's got to work on New Year's Day, and so she heads off to home. And they start getting me all hooked up on all this blood thinning stuff, and they're checking more. It turns out I've got some kind of plaque in my left leg somewhere, and then there's something else with my carotid arteries. So it's just a bunch of things, but what they're going to try to fix now is this blood clot. So what I'm doing now is I'm on 2 blood thinners. I'm on the blood thinner that they're dripping through an IV, and then I'll be taking blood thinners by a pill, and that's the one that I'll take when I go home. So what they do is the IV that I'm taking for blood thinners, the way that I understand it works is that once they take the IV off, he said in about an hour or so, my blood will get thick again, back to the thick that it was, which, is then you really can't breathe. And what they do is they kind of start bringing you onto the one that you take orally, and then that'll start taking over. It looks like I have Artister. Hello, Artister. Good to see you. I'm just here making notes of my event. I hope you can hear me. If you can hear me, give me a sound check. I see. Yeah, he says he's... Yeah. Well, what happens, Art, is that talking, for some reason, helps my breathing. So I'm hoping if you can give me a sound check, you'd give me a sound check. Let me type to him and see if he can give me an AV check and see what he says. Oh, okay. He says the audio is great. Thank you, Art. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. And I hope these little stories that I tell, if anybody should run into this problem, we're all getting up in age, and we're all going to run into our health problems, and if this helps people a little bit, so they're not afraid to go through this. That's one of the reasons I'm going to continue to do this all the way. I guess I'm going to be pretty sick for about 6 months. 6 months or more. I can't drive no more. They're afraid that something might move and I'll blank out and wipe out half of Florida, I guess. But oh, see? Yeah, Art says that he went through, his father had this operation, so he kind of knows what this is like. I just, I'll be happy when this little round here is over and I'm back home. But Art said that his father had this before. Okay, Art, I will. I keep everything on my channel here, and I keep them in my video thing. That's the only thing that will be there until I'm better, and then I'll just do my regular little shows again. But like I said, I think this is important, and I think it's nothing to be afraid of. For one thing, the operation itself never did hurt. I've never had any problems with my heart, so none of that never hurt. What the only thing that's ever really been bothering me is my lungs, and the only pain I've ever had is when they took the fluid out of the bottom part of my lungs. But the chest operation, I mean, they open up your chest and spread it apart and go in there and grab your heart and cut it open and throw another slice of bologna on there, and you're good to go. It's kind of funny when you first get it because the heart doesn't quite know what to do. It looks like it's kind of like Jell-O or something. But it's not bad. It never hurt. The chest never hurt. I was never afraid of anything. As far as dying, I believe I did, and I didn't see no bright lights. I didn't see any angels. Didn't see anything good or bad. All it did is it was just like when we shut our computers off. That's exactly what I felt like. I felt like a computer that had got shut off. No memories, no nothing, just no darkness, no nothing. So when I woke up 4 days later, I thought it was just like, I had been asleep. I didn't even know I was asleep. It was like, okay, here I am. How long have I been here? How long have I been in the hospital? And it turned out by that time I was already there 4 days. So, when it comes to dying you may have to be dead a lot longer. Maybe I wasn't dead long enough. Or maybe my body, just calls out, that you're dead, but you're not. Your spirit is still alive in there running around or something. I don't know. But I know that if that is death, death is just the end. You just shut it off like a computer. So let me get back to telling you about my lung. And they got me up in this room now. And like I said, the people here, you can't beat how nice they are. And everybody from the people who clean the floors to the people who fix your heart, they're just a bunch of good people. And there's only one thing to say. And then the online people, like I said, you turn into John Boehner. And when I first got in here and got conscious, and I seen all the people that were wishing me well, I mean, I couldn't talk. I was so overcome with emotion I couldn't talk, and any time it was brought to my attention, I would get like that. I can understand John Boehner. I have think that he may have gotten heart surgery because you're really emotional. But I think that I probably would have been emotional even if I'd have broken my leg, and I would have gotten all of the well-wishing. Not to mention, I've gotten little gifts and stuff from dissenters, and it's just it's just something that I'm not used to. So I've got to readjust how I handle kindness, and that's really what it is. I'm a fighter, and I'm not used to kindness like that. I don't have a problem giving it. I don't have a problem helping, but when the tables are turned and you're getting it, it's kind of a whole different story. You get real emotional, and you don't quite know. The first thing you do is you already want to try to figure out, how am I going to pay this back? You start trying to figure out like they're doing it for some kind of payback, and you've got to readjust your thinking all the way around. You can't start doing that to people. You can't start making it look like it was some kind of negotiated deal. You've just got to accept the kindness and be prepared when your day comes to give it. I remember when I was young and I used to hitchhike. This little old man gave me a ride. I was in California, and he told me that, he took me as far as he was going to take me, and I tried to pay him. I tried to give him some money, and he said, nope. He says, what you do, he says, when you're traveling, he says, just help at least 10 people. He says, if you see somebody hitchhiking, pick them up. He says, because you'll never be able to pay back the people that help you. You'll never be able to. You'll ruin the kindness if you even try. So what you do is you just, every time you get a chance to be kind, be kind. And that's how you do it. And I did that for a real long time. Whenever I would see a hitchhiker or whatever, I would pick them up. But, on the other hand, when it comes to picking up hitchhikers, you got to keep in mind, if you've got your family with you, or your wife with you, or your girlfriend with you, you can't be too crazy behind kindness. But there's a lot of things you can do, that you won't be able to pay all the individuals back that were kind to you. Just be prepared when you have a chance to be kind, and that's how you'll keep your mind straight, and you won't feel like you're indebted, and then you won't hold that against the people who were kind to you, because sometimes you can make the whole thing something it isn't supposed to be, and I have no intentions of letting that happen to me. I'm just going to keep my eye open. And when I have a chance to be kind, I will. But, I've always been that way. When I've had a chance to be kind, I've always been kind. And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to be a giver. I've always loved it. It's never bothered me. But so back to the science of my problem. So they've got me up in this little room. I'm in here by myself, and people coming and going all the time. And I've got 2 little TVs. One when I go sit in the chair, which is pretty uncomfortable, and one when I'm lying here in bed. And I was just finished watching one game, and I was kind of watching the other, the Saints and the 49ers, and I just finished watching the Colts. And that's one of the things about being on these medications. Your memory and all it's supposed to be. But anyway, I finished watching one playoff game, and I was just kind of got my side eye on this other one. So anyway, what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to give me these blood thinners, and the way I understand it, but I keep getting 2 different stories, that the blood thinner doesn't actually dissolve it, and then some people say, well, the blood thinner does dissolve it. But what the doctors say is that the blood thinners allow the blood to move freely around the clot. And from what I'm thinking, that clot has to be about the size of a hand or something. From the way they're describing it, it's pretty big. But if I don't get these breathing treatments, I can't breathe. And the taking deep breaths gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And then they come in, they bring me this treatment, and after a while I'm okay. So what the talking does is it kind of helps me breathe, I guess letting out the carbon monoxide or whatever we have in our system, because I can't walk around. I've got the farthest I can go is to the bathroom, which is, maybe 10 steps. At first they told me, try to walk. So I was doing it, but the farthest I could walk at one time was 324 feet. And then my left leg started to give me a hard time. So this time they said, no, even if you get out of that bed, you call us. They said, because this is pretty serious. We can't be knocking anything loose. So, I kind of wander off to the bathroom real quick and without calling them, and come back to bed, and then I'll sit on that chair for a little bit till I can't stand it anymore because it's uncomfortable. Then I'll come and sit in bed, and then they'll come in at certain hours, probably every 2 or 3 hours, and give me some kind of pill, take my blood pressure, and take my blood. So I don't know if they're done taking, if I'm understanding right, they might be done taking my blood, because all that had to happen was I had to have 2 readings the same, and then they could go ahead and start giving me the pills by mouth. So I've been in here since January 1st, and I've been on this IV for thinning my blood since then. But like I said, it's a nice place, but I had to need to bring my computer because, after a while, just sitting in a room, it's kind of like being in jail or something, and even though they come in, they're busy. I'm not the only patient. They come in, they'll, do a real quick talk and chat and see how I'm doing. And some of them stay longer and talk about other things. Some of them move on right away. But you don't get, much conversation. So I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can do a live show and get some of this stuff documented while it's fresh in my mind. So they had another surgeon come in this morning, or early this afternoon, and check on my leg and see if they were going to be able to operate on it. And he says, well, it's probably a lot more dangerous than it's worth at this time, and that's one of the things, with the blood thinner, they don't want to operate on you unless it's unless it's absolutely, like you're dying or something. They don't want to start opening you up with your blood all thin like that. And it's the same thing with the lung. I guess they said one way that they were going to be able to take care of that clot was they were going to go in and just kind of vacuum it. I guess what they do is they kind of zap it a little bit with radiation, and then they suck it out. I guess that's how they do it. I don't know. But my thing is, whatever you do, you give me something for pain, because I've already hit my limit. You barely touched my toe and I flinch. That's how much pain I've been through this adventure. But like I said, all the pain is coming from the lungs, when they did what they did to the lungs, and then of course the constant IVs, stuff like that. And that makes you kind of jumpy. Even when it doesn't hurt, it seems like it hurts. So, like I said, what I wanted to do was keep all of this documented, because the thing about stuff like this is you have a way of forgetting. And if you do it when it's happening, kind of while it's fresh in your mind, you'll get, at least, it may not make sense, but at least the facts are there. I'm sure that when I listen back to this, it'll sound like I'm jumping from subject to subject, but A lot of times what happens is if something comes to mind, whatever it is, I try to talk about it while it's in my mind, because some things will leave and they won't come back, because I guess when you have a stroke, it affects a lot of things that you don't think it affects. Like I said, one thing's your emotion, and I'm noticing, I don't know, my memory doesn't seem to work too well, which is another reason I wanted to bring up the computer and see how much of everything I could remember. And so far so good. I was able to open up the Procaster, and I've got everything set up nice and neat. I don't have any problems. I was able to turn on the music and check my gauges and my meters, and got my microphones going right, and so far so good. So I'm gonna keep doing this, but like I said, when the doctors come in, I'll shut it off, because I don't think that would be a good idea to record anybody that doesn't know I'm recording. So I think I pretty much covered everything. Like I said, the leg doctor said that he wouldn't operate on that leg for some time, and then I guess the two, I don't know what they call them, but there's two big old veins that feed your brain that have to be rotor-rooted, or something has to be done to them too, and they won't do any of that until 6 weeks after the operation, if they do anything at all. And they're thinking that maybe these blood thinners are going to help all of that. So they're kind of watching to see what the blood thinners will do with the clot in the lung, and maybe they'll do something with the leg, and maybe they'll do something with those veins that are in the back of my head. But we'll see. There ain't too much to do other than wait, see how things go. Uh-oh, here comes a nurse. It's good. Uh-oh, here comes a nurse. Let me shut this off.
On the weekend, I give it my all from 9 to 5. 3 weeks of vacation, serving my nation. Lady, I hope to keep you satisfied. Cause I'm your postman, babe. Bring it to you, rain or shine. Came home this morning. You were sleeping with someone else. Came home this morning. Baby, you were sleeping with someone else. Baby, please don't dog me. Well, you know you doing wrong yourself. Give you all my money. Give you everything. Now you give my love to some other man. Baby, please don't dog me. Well, you know you doing wrong yourself. Take all of my love. Baby, you give it to someone else. And you know it makes me mad.
Okay, the nurse was here, and she gave me 2 pills. One's a blood thinner, and the other one might be for blood pressure or cholesterol. It doesn't matter. They tell me, and I don't remember. So she's gone to get me some water, and then I guess they've got to change this IV because it's in a bad place, and it is starting to get sore. So that's one of the things, it's just hundreds of little pokes, but that's just the nature of the beast. And it's not too bad. Some of them are really good, and they tell you there's going to be a little poke. There's a little poke, and next thing you know, they're taping you up and taping you down and hooking up this and hooking up that. So, like I said, my goal is to, should this happen to anybody, and if they've heard these before it happens, there's nothing to be afraid of. If you wake up, you're good to go. If you don't wake up, you'll never know. And that's my opinion. My opinion is that if you don't wake up, it's not bad, it's not good, it's not left, it's not right. You're just gone, and you'll live in the memory of people. That's the way it is, in my opinion, from my experience. I don't know everything. Some people have a different experience, I don't know why things are the way they are, but I do know that if the ending is the way that I experienced, that's what I want. Just this is the life we get. Turn off the battery, shut off the lights, lock the door when you leave, and you're gone. If, there's any life after death or some big mystery or anything, I don't know anything about it. And that's just the way it is. So she went to get me some water, but I guess it's already busy for her. And I hate to try to even swallow these. I used to swallow a handful of pills with no problem, but your throat is kind of dry a lot from the oxygen and all the different treatments and all the different pills, so you're taking a pretty big chance trying to swallow pills without any water. So when I get water, I'll take those pills. But I ain't going to try to swallow them without water. And so when Anita's here, she was here earlier, and they bring dinner or lunch or whatever, breakfast, whatever, they real polite, they give her a tray too. And it's just, like I said, if you have to be in a place like this is a good place to be in. The kindness is, it's just a trip. And then, I don't know, it might not be what I think it is, but because I'm so emotional, I feel that it's that way. But I don't know. Anita said that they're, said the same thing, that they're really good people. And, one of the things, again, that I'll be dealing with is the cost. I guess we've gotten one bill for $500,000 already. I could be wrong, but I thought she said it was $500,000 or almost $500,000 already. And I don't see this being any less than $1 million by the time I'm done. And the government is going to pay it. That's just, I know a lot of people don't like our government, and a lot of people, always thought that I was full of shit because I used to say, I like the government, thank goodness for the government. Well, you know what? This is my government working now. And like anything else, I feel really good about it. Good. I'm thankful that we have the system that we have. It's not perfect, no. But without it, I'd be dead. Of course, now to me, that wouldn't matter. But it would to Anita. It would matter to Anita. And like I said, as far as I'm concerned, my experience, it just lights her out. Adios. Lock the door. But the living, the people that care about you, they're the ones that get that big kick in the butt, kick in the side, pain in the heart. They're the ones that get it. So, that's one of the considerations, for me to accept my gift, take care of my heart, take care of my health. Anita already seen me in the worst possible way that she can, and she didn't like it. She hopes to never see it again. I hope to never put her through it again. I didn't do it on purpose. Nobody does. But nonetheless, when they give you a new car to drive, you got to take care of it. You got to try to make it last as long as you can. Now you know all the rules. There's no excuses. You've got to do this. You've got to take these pills. You've got to go to the doctor. You've got to eat this kind of food. You can't eat that kind of food. You can't, there's a lot of things you can do, a lot of things you can't do, and you've got to follow the rules. Because if not, you're going to make some people very sad. And that's the most important thing, because I know that for me anyway, when I die, it's lights out. Nothing romantic, ain't gonna see Jesus, ain't gonna see a light at the end of the tunnel, none of that. It's just boom, you're gone. And the only memory are the memories that people have of you. So, if you want people to remember you in a good way, be good to people. That's not to say you have to be abused. It's just to say don't abuse. Don't be bad to people for no reason. Protect yourself at all times, of course, but don't be bad to people, that don't deserve it. And if you see a good person being abused, step up. Step up and fight for them. If they can't fight for themselves, or if they can and they're overwhelmed, help them. Don't just sit back and watch somebody be abused, whether it's in a bus stop or a chat room. If you see somebody being kicked, don't let it happen. just step up. And that's about the best we can do, is just step up. You don't have to try to change the world. You can if you want to, but if you see a wrong, try to right it. That's all I can say. But in the end, you're going to be a memory. So while you're alive, you decide what kind of memory you want to be. And that's about the choice you're going to get. That's about all the choice you're going to get. So she went to get me water, and I don't know what happened. She ain't back yet. I don't know if she's... Sometimes, they get busy, and, they go by somebody who's really sick. And there are some really sick people in the hospital, let me tell you. And, they get stopped. There's a lot of these little lights go on, and they go in there, and the guy next to you is even worse than you are, and you're in bad shape. And they got to deal with it. Well, I think I'm going to... Well, maybe if I only take one of these at a time. I'm going to try it without water. Down that one goes. That's the blood pressure. Now there's this little white one. And down that goes. So I made it. Sometimes you can be too cautious. But you got to get that medicine. Everything is on a time. Okay, you're supposed to take this pill at 9 o'clock, and you're supposed to take this pill at 10:30, and they got everything timed, so I better take them pills. And that's really what I'm going to be like for a while. I'm going to be like, well, you better take them pills, you got to go to the doctor, you got to get your blood tested, it's all of this stuff. I don't know how much of this is going to be for the rest of my life kind of thing, If the blood clot gets fixed, then they may take me off the blood thinners and just let me go normal, and then they can deal with the leg. And I think they're carotid arteries is what they're called. There's two big veins that run up the back of your neck and feed your brain with blood. So apparently those two there need a plumber. They need to be roto-rooted or something. So they say that can happen until 6 weeks at least, a minimum. And that's all going to depend on how I'm healing. Now I've got this huge scar that goes from my collarbone down just above my belly button. Is what it does. And then, as far as the scar, it looks pretty good. It's healing pretty good. But come Monday, I've been at this 4 weeks come Monday. And they popped me open on the 9th of December is what they did. So, everything is working around time, so that's the time it'll work around. That'll be 4 weeks. And then, I guess in 6 weeks, we'll start talking about doing something about those veins. I don't know if they're going to try to let the blood thinners fix it, or if it's plaque, or what it is. But if it's plaque, then they got to go in with a stent, and then they kind of widen it up somehow or something, and then they put a little screen in there, like a little fence, and then that keeps it opened. So, I'm kind of curious to see how I'm going to feel after all of this, because I thought I felt pretty good, but the fact is I was all messed up, and I felt good. So if they fix everything, I got a feeling I'm going to feel pretty good. I don't know. I know I can't drink coffee. Well, that's kind of thrown up in the air. When I first came out, they said no coffee or alcohol. And then when they sent me home the last time, she said I could drink a glass of wine and have a cup of coffee. But, after a while, what used to sound good doesn't sound so good anymore. I was craving Big Macs. I wanted a Big Mac. And then little by little, after you lose your appetite, and I mean you lose your appetite for everything. The only thing that was even appealing a little bit was fruit. So the Big Mac doesn't sound so appealing anymore, and a lot of things don't sound so appealing. Food isn't what it used to be. Food has become medicine. Everything has become therapy and medicine. Everything you do it to help with the healing process. There isn't anything that's wasted on leisure. You can't just open up a bag of potato chips or whatever. That don't even sound good anymore. And even if it did, it's kind of like your common sense button is on high alert, and it shuts that thought down right away. So you don't eat any of that junk food, or don't abuse alcohol, and take it easy on the salt. Salt is a big thing, I guess, when you've had heart surgery. They stay away from the salt, or certain kinds of salt, I guess. Sugar doesn't seem to be a problem for me, but the food is all bland, and I've switched to fish. All I'm eating is fish now, fish and vegetables. At first they were bringing me hamburgers and lasagna and meatloaf and brown gravy, mashed potatoes, green beans, corn, carrots, stuff like that. And they're real bland, but obviously they're not bad for me because everything has to clear a nutrition. But I turned that all off because I couldn't eat it. I would take a couple of bites and be full, and I couldn't even force myself to eat it. Breads, none of that stuff. So I switched to fish, and when I got full this time, I ate the fish even though I was full. I ate it no matter what. And green peas, I ate them up, and a banana, and a pop. I had a Sprite, and I was okay. I was able to do that. So like I said, everything is medicine. It's not about, boy, I'm going to sit down and eat a good meal anymore. It's not about that anymore. It's about, what can I eat to build my muscles back up, to help my blood be strong. That's what it's about. So, I guess I'm going to be on all these special diets and stuff. So when I first opened up this channel today, I played the blues, and the blues sounded so good. To hear the blues again sounded so good. And, for a minute there, I was just going to kick back and listen to the blues. But, the battery on this, it may only last a little past an hour before I charge it up, and I got to be careful where I put it. I don't want nobody tripping on it. But I can shut the battery off. I shut the computer off, and then recharge, let the computer recharge, and then unplug it and then use it again. And in that way I'm not in anybody's way, blocking cords and stuff. Although, Anita was here and she did that, and they didn't mind. Because, I think one of the things that the staff appreciates is when a family member is here. Because when you're in a place like this, it's good to have family, friends, or whatever coming to visit you and letting you know what's going on, and kind of somebody to chat with. And for me, doing it live like this, it helps my lungs for some reason. I don't know why, but I noticed that when I did my first show, because I was home and I couldn't breathe all that well. You don't have oxygen, you don't have medicine, you don't have the stuff that helps you breathe, and you've just got this little kind of like a little tool that you suck on, and it strengthens your lungs somehow. So I had that and talking, and it seemed to help me a lot. I wasn't struggling for breath or anything, so I thought, well, hey, I'm going to talk more, and hopefully, that'll help my breathing. But here in the hospital, they got all kinds of stuff to help your breathing. And that's another thing I got to see, what's the plans when they send me home? Are they going to make sure I can breathe before they send me home? I hope so, because I'll be right back here, in a day or so. That's all it's taken now with that big clot on my lung. When I had the fluid, that took, I think, about 3 days. They took out the 800 cc's, and then about 3 days later I had the whole liter, and that took about 3 days. So, we'll see how it all works, and I think what I'll do now is rest and kind of see how this little show went. I've been at it for an hour, and that ain't bad for my first show from the hospital. I'll listen back and kind of watch the game, see how I guess the Broncos are going to be in the playoffs, so that's a good thing. I hope they're able to win the Super Bowl. That'd be something, or make it to the Super Bowl. I don't know. I guess these games here are going to determine who the Broncos play. Or I think they're going to play Cincinnati. Broncos in Cincinnati then they start narrowing it down. So I made it to 58 minutes and 32 seconds. And I feel okay for a man as sick as I am. And like I said, if they could fix this breathing, everything else is okay. That leg, I can't walk very far. I can't use it very much, so it in itself could be a problem, because they're concerned that something may bust off and go someplace else. That's really the concern of my lung. It's the concern of everything, that something will break off. They know it's there, and that it'll break off and go someplace else that it don't belong. Cause a stroke, or they tell me real casual, you can die. They say that real cool. You can die if you don't do this. You can die if you don't do that. You can die. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, well, okay, take it easy on the you can die thing already. And then I think about it and I said, well, you know what? I can die. And I already did. I know what it's like. And like I said, and I'll say it many times, it isn't the dying. It's knowing that the burden that I'd put on my loved ones if I should. So I'll take care of myself the best I can, the best I know how. I'll do what they tell me to do, so that Nina doesn't have to suffer this again. And that's all you can do. There's no guarantees that if you do everything right, you're still going to be okay. There's no guarantees. You can still die. They say it real casual, you're going to die. And I told one, I said, I already died. This is my second go at it. Only this time, I have the options of trying to take better care of myself. So I see doctors running around. I'm probably going to get a visit by 1. So when I'm there, I'm at an hour. So I hope these little shows help. I'm going to continue to do them. I'm going to play the blues, and I'll tell you my stories day by day. So I want to thank Artie Stir for dropping by and wishing Nina and me well. And he also said his father had this problem, and he went through it. And I just want to thank him for stopping by and saying hi. And I'll keep doing this, and I hope he drops by. This is pretty much just a talk show, tell you what's going on show. So, and the chat's just there for people if they want to talk to each other. And I'll answer any questions that I can. But for now, I'm gonna archive this and see if I made any sense. So, I'm not seeing if anybody's watching this, so I popped out my chat and I've got my little meter there, so I don't know what's really going on. So, maybe I'll charge this up and talk a little later if I can't sleep. I might be up in the middle of the night talking to Ifan, I don't know. So, have a good night, and I hope you're having a good year so far, and take care.